For more on this, we have Katie McGrady, a SiriusXM Radio host on the Catholic channel. I'm sure, heard our conversation there. I know that Pope Emeritus Benedict has been very low profile since stepping down nearly a decade ago. What do you believe he will be most remembered for, both by Catholics and around the world?
You know, Pope Benedict XVI he's been retired longer than he was Pope. And I think a lot of us in the Catholic world remember a lot more about his academic career than his pontificate. Not that his pontificate wasn't significant. He wrote 3 very beautiful encyclicals that talk about faith, hope, and charity. They give us beautiful, beautiful reflections on God, who is love. But I think the most significant thing, and a lot of Catholics are talking about this right now because of a very popular podcast that's about to begin, Catechism in a Year. Pope Benedict, when he was Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, was commissioned by now St. John Paul II to compile the Catechism of the Catholic Church. That was in 1986. So what he did as cardinal, what he did as head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, he never wanted to be Pope. He wanted to retire, and JP2 wouldn't let him. So he was kind of this accidental Pope, this stopgap Pope. Nobody expected him to be Pope for very long. We certainly didn't expect him to live for nearly 10 more years after his resignation. So I think he'll be remembered for the great theology that he contributed to our church.
And he reportedly also has a good sense of humor. He loves cats. He had 2 cats as Pope, but often he's also portrayed as a strict figure. So do you think that he's more like hard on the outside, soft on the inside?
Well, I think most Catholics think of our popes as Catholic grandfathers, right? They're grandpas who wear white. When you're the head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, the CDF, you're the hammer. You're the guy who says, this is what we teach, even if the world doesn't like that. He was often kind of called the Pope's bulldog when he was the head of the CDF. So I think for a lot of people, it was this, oh, he's not pastoral, he's not approachable, he's not lovable, he's not as personality driven as JP2. But yet up close, if you read his writings, if you saw how he was as Pope, he often would tell the story of how he was begging the Lord not to make him Pope. And there was a group of German pilgrims just a few days after he was elected Pope who met him, and he said, evidently, he did not listen to me. And so he did have a great sense of humor. He was known for loving orange Fanta. When he resigned back in 2013, I remember I bought a bunch of orange Fanta, and my family came over and we all toasted our beloved Benedict. You know, tons of my friends named their children Benedict in his pontificate because we do have an affection for him, even if he was not JP2 and not Francis. Every Pope brings their personality and their spirit to the role and then receives grace from the Holy Spirit to serve in that role.
Yeah, absolutely. He was quoted as once saying, one who has hope lives differently. And that is certainly true for all of us. Katie McGrady, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.